VP of Entertainment Marketing for the Accell Group. We own Diamondback, Raleigh, Redline, LaPierre, and about 35 other bicycle brands worldwide. I'm new to the industry, and when I was interviewing with my boss, she said something very impactful. She said, bicycles are one of the only thing you could add to the planet that doesn't make it worse. That really did something to me, and I've reflected on it often. And what a tool the bicycle is. It's just so valuable, and World Bicycle Relief does it so well by donating. They are actually improving the planet. So I'm really excited to be here tonight. Thank you for having me. And I wanted to do a few introductions for our amazing panel. I'll start with Dave Neiswander. He is the CEO of World Bicycle Relief. He has a 15-year career in investment banking and left that life to help better our world. He first ran the Africa organization, and now he is CEO.
Welcome, Dave.
Yes.
Dave's here.
Now we have Helen Russell. She is co-founder and CEO of Equator Coffee and Tea. They are Thank you. They are the first California coffee roaster with a certified B Corp. Yeah. They were 2016 National Small Business of the Year. They also have a World Bicycle Relief blend where a portion of each sold goes to the charity.
$2 per bag. Buy it. Do the math. It doesn't take long to get a bike.
And thank you, because Equator is generously hosting us tonight.
Yay!
Now we have Mark Gainey. He has built successful companies for nearly 20 years. He's the co-founder and chairman of Strava, one of the largest active apps in the world. We're super excited to have him here tonight and to participate on this panel. Thank you. And finally, Joy Basu is the moderator for this evening. She has a long-standing career in food, sustainability, global impact, and served as an architect of the RISE Fund. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Karin, and thank you all for being here tonight. I think this is a really special conversation. I wanted to add my thanks to all of you for being here, and as well as WBR for bringing this community together. I also wanted to add a thanks for our sponsors, in addition to Equator Coffee and Equator Pantry. The event is also sponsored by Summerfest Beer and the Cliff Family Winery. So let's throw out a thank you for all of that. I am personally very excited about this conversation with these incredibly accomplished individuals. You should look all their backgrounds up. They're inspiring individuals, but what brings the three of them here together is a demonstrated commitment to impact and personal leadership, which I'm really looking forward to talking about more. I also wanted to note that, this audience is composed of individuals who, for the most part, care very personally and deeply about World Bicycle Relief and the impact that the organization is having, but have very diverse kind of professional lives and professional roles. And so I hope that you all leave with a few things tonight, including one new friendship in the audience, someone you didn't know before, and one idea of something tangible that you can take back to your different lives and your different areas of work on how you can expand the impact that you care about, whether that's related to World Bicycle Relief or if that's something that's personally important to you. So keep that in mind. I'll start off our conversation with a few questions, but I'll also save time for questions that you may have. So please store those up as we're talking, and we'll have a couple times when you can jump in. So without further ado, I'd love to ask the three of you, what's not in your bio that is important for us to know about? What brings you here tonight and the work that you do in your day jobs? Mark, do you mind if I start with you?
Sure.
Okay, little known fact. Hopefully everybody knows what Strava is or has some general idea. Okay, good. So supporting cyclists. So what people don't know is that I'm a horrible cyclist. I've been put in a hospital 3 times, twice by cars. I've had 12 surgeries related to cycling, yet I'm still one of its biggest believers. So that's the little known fact, and we'll get into why I still believe so deeply in what it can do, not just for me personally and my family, but for the world as a whole.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to our beautiful public space here, and it's so great to be up here with Dave and with Mark. You know, Equator's been in business for 24 years, and 6 years ago, we opened up our Equator Coffee Shop and Proof Lab, and the cycling community built our business in Mill Valley. And we have so much that we owe it to them. And, you know, I said, you know what, I got to get clipped in, and I got to get in that kit, and I got to get out there. And then I met, because, you know, the same way I had to go surfing, the same way I had to go running, you know, super all these things. But, you know, we have been traveling to the Farmer's Gate for a long time, and we have been buying our coffee and going inside that gate and getting dirt on our boots. We own a farm in Panama, and we inherited the people on that land 10 years ago. I'm going to Rwanda in June. So to see the impact of what a bicycle can do, not only here in the U.S., but what it can do for young women and girls that are traveling back and forth with water, with food, on their way to school, that is all I needed to know, and I was all in. So I love what World Bicycle Relief does. I love looking out at all of you. I get, you know, goosebumps when I think about the impact, because it's so real. That Buffalo bike does not cost a lot of money, and it changes people's lives for a small amount of money. So anything that Equator can do, we will do it.
Wow. Well, first, thank you very much, both of you, for being on the panel, and for everyone to be here tonight. This is absolutely incredible, and really humbled by the support, and just fantastic to have this community built out. I'm going to sort of go off of Mark's suggestion as well. Going into World Bicycle Relief, I've been with the organization now 12 years. The organization's 14 years old. And when I first met FK and Leah Day, the co-founders, I wasn't so much a cyclist. I mean, I'm sort of a casual cyclist. I was living in DC, and I like to do the ride on the Capitol Crescent and the Rock Creek Parkway. But, you know, I wasn't like a Lycra warrior and out there every day. And seeing one of my first trip with FK to Zambia before I started, I was with him in the field for a week, and I loved the way he looked at it, because, you know, FK and his brother Stan started SRAM over 30 years ago, and now it's the world's second largest, US's largest bicycle component manufacturer. And for many of those years, FK was the head of product development. And instead of taking a view as it relates to it's all about the bike and the technicalities and he's like, a bike's just a tool. How can we make the best tool to serve the end user? And I love that simplicity, that sort of that vision and that focus. It's not about the bike. It is about the bike, but it's not about the bike. It's about how it can be a tool for somebody to help themselves. So that really resonated with me and really inspired me. And that 1 week I went for a visit. I then, within 6 weeks, was living in Zambia on a sabbatical from my investment banking career, which was 12 years ago. As one does.
Thank you. I would love to hear a little bit more about, you know, in your day-to-day work, what you think, how you want the world to be different as a result of what you and your organizations do. And, you know, in some ways that might be the headline of the organization, but I think in other ways there's different functions that we take every day that change people's lives internally and externally. And I would love to hear kind of what's top of mind for you when you think about that. Dave, do you want to start?
I'm happy to start. I had the good fortune and also smart planning in February to spend most of my time in Africa versus Chicago, where I'm now currently based, and spending time in Zimbabwe and Zambia. And we did a tour from Livingston to Lusaka to visit. We have about 5 Buffalo bicycle shops. These are relatively small retail shops along the pathway that people can come in and buy spare parts or buy bicycles. And it's just awesome. I mean, it's just great to see that direct-to-community connection. And the fact is that this bicycle is the right value proposition that individuals are riding it. And as I stand outside the shops and there's the dust road and, you know, people going by and doing their daily commerce, it really resonated with me, the vision that we have now as World Bicycle Relief of thinking about mobilized communities. And these are communities where bicycles can make a difference, that there's a supply of quality bicycles, there's trained field mechanics, there's a robust supply chain of spare parts, and you've created an ecosystem where all of a sudden people have that access to healthcare, education, economic opportunity. And to see in some of these communities, in Zambia, we have about 170,000 bicycles, Buffalo bicycles. It's by far our largest. We've been operational there for 12 years. And it's so awe-inspiring and humbling when you go into these communities and you just see these bicycles going back and forth with commerce, with kids on the back of them, at the clinic, going to the dairy cooperative, delivering their milk, taking their kids to school. Creating that sustainable infrastructure, to me, is what inspires me. And that's what we're sort of looking at our vision going forward. How can we create more of these mobilized communities?
I'm just looking at the slides up here of Ashley Ryan French, who's our event coordinator and takes care of our athletes who went on a World Bicycle Relief trip in Zambia, and the incredible footage that she sent back. I mean, this was just an idea for Equator to get involved with World Bicycle Relief, because when you walk out of our stores, there's so many bicycles, right? I thought, oh my God, we should do this. But having that experience that we have had as coffee roasters and traveling to the Farmer's Gate, everybody in this room, it's not about the bike, it's not about the coffee, it's really about the story behind both of those things. When I look into a cup of coffee, I see many, many people that I have worked with, that I have sat with, that I have negotiated with so their children can go to school. This is one more way to make an impact for Equator. We've been on this planet for a long, long time. I was just telling to Dave, I'm going back to Rwanda in June. I went to Rwanda 12 years ago. I met this incredible young woman who lost her entire family to the genocide. I'm going back to Rwanda with her in June. She got a scholarship at Carleton University. Brooke and I stood in for her parents. Now she's getting her PhD at Cambridge. And I said, I want to go back to Rwanda with you. I want to stand on the threshold of the house that you once lived in, that was burned to the ground, and see now how far Rwanda has come and what we can do here with this idea of maybe bringing bicycles here. That's why I want to go back there. Right? I want to see what we can now do as a coffee company beyond just buying coffee. How can we help on the ground? How can we help here? How can we grow our business? And everybody in this room is here for a reason. And I'm so impressed that you all came. Some folks came as far as Davis, Lafayette. Tom rode his bike in from Marin. I mean, that's impressive, right? Exactly. So that tells me that World Bicycle Relief is very, very important to all of us, because we can see the direct impact of that Buffalo bike, of what it can do. Can you imagine being a young girl at 14 years old, getting on a bike and riding through 15 young boys and having that power of the bike underneath you and feeling fearless? And that's what we're trying to do when we roast coffee, buy coffee, go to Origin, when we look up how long it took us to get up that hill, right? Long time. I don't even know how to use it, but it looks, but it's like, it's more than just that. We're here for a different reason.
Hard to follow. Okay, let me take you back to the roots. So impact at Strava is, there's two ends of the spectrum. So the roots, let me explain why it even got started. Myself and my co-founder, Michael Horvath, been friends for 30-something years. We met on a team in college. So we had this experience in college that was life-changing, in the sense that to be on a team and the esprit de corps and the camaraderie and frankly the trash talking and the competition, everything that came with that was fantastic. It defined our collegiate experience. The only problem was we graduated and poof, it disappeared. So there's literally a business plan that was written as early as 1995 that was, we need to recreate this team that we experienced. How do we use the internet to do this thing? How do we bring people back together? Because people motivate people. And once I had my buddies back trash talking, it didn't matter whether we were in the same locker room or we were in different countries. If we could figure a way to connect around our athletic endeavors, what a great way to just keep me going outside. It didn't happen in 1995. I won't bore you with why it didn't, but thankfully in 2008, 2009, Michael and I are now in our early 40s at that point. We have young families, we're raising them. We still want to be active, but it's hard. Like, life gets in the way. And so we decided to start our second company with a really simple mission. 2 people, he and I, needed to stay motivated. Could we create some software? And if we were the only 2 customers that had kept it motivated, that was a victory. So when I talk about impact, I gotta be honest, it was really small early on. How did the 2 of us get out? And frankly, even today, when we look at our mission at Strava, it's a very simple mission. We want to connect our athletes to the things that motivate them to go achieve their personal best. That's what we're out to do. So we look a lot at sort of that individual activity. How can that activity have impact? And it works. I can tell you story after story around what's happened to people when they jump in, when they're not trying to race up a hill. It's that first time off the couch, and they get their first mile walk around the block. There's heart-wrenching stories of people that come through Strava. But what's been really fun is that now 10 years later, let me give you a sense of the community. We've got 40 million people worldwide, 190 countries. We add 1 million athletes per month. And what we can do with that is now use our community to do some really special stuff. So I'll give you one example. We have Strava Metro. We work with cities around the world. We take all this data that's available within that city to look at the way that people are on bikes and running and so forth, how they're moving through the city. And in doing that, we then work with the urban planners and the local governments and so forth to rethink this infrastructure. There's huge headlines going on right now in San Francisco. It's a nightmare, right? Just trying to move through the city on your bike. But the world is changing. London is one of our clients. By 2025, they will have largely run out of seats in their public transportation. There's so many people moving to that city, they won't be able to house them in subways and on the double-decker buses. They have to figure out how to get people onto bikes, onto alternative forms of transportation. And so because we now have all this information available to us, that's our gift back. How do we think about impact from a community standpoint, the way that our community of 40 million people now can give back?
Thank you, Mark. And I think to your point, impact might sound like it starts small, but as long as it's authentic, I think it can grow into something very powerful. And so, no need to play small on the origin story. I think it's really inspiring. Thank you. And Dave, you mentioned the power of commerce when it comes to WBR and this ecosystem that you're able to create in these communities. I'm curious about how the 3 of you think about the relationship between business and the impact you want to have. I think 5-6 years ago, these 2 sectors were very separate and distinct, and not that this is limited, but people thought about their charity and their philanthropy work as something they did personally on the side. And I think it's really powerful that we're seeing those 2 integrate much more. And there's different ways of kind of driving that. So I'm curious, generally, but also specifically, do you see a tension between your business goals and your impact goals? Does that vary by the stakeholders you're thinking about? And how do you integrate them? Maybe Dave, kind of given your seat of the question, I'd love to ask how you've integrated the idea of commerce.
Sure. Well, coming from FK as the co-founder and an entrepreneur with Schramm Corporation and my years in investment banking, we sort of look at, how can we solve some of the challenges that we face with sustainable systems? And what happened was when I first got there, we started delivering bicycles into a healthcare program. And the challenge was that the bicycles that were readily available in the marketplace were simply not such high quality. They were based off of an old roadster Raleigh design that had really been sort of taken on by the Chinese and Asian importers, and unfortunately they had become disconnected from the end user. And that bicycle had been cut in quality to the point where it really didn't serve the end user. and we affectionately call those bicycle-shaped objects, or BSOs. The BSOs simply fall apart, pedals snap off, wheels collapse, braking systems never work. And so the beauty of World Bicycle Relief is really leveraging the experience and knowledge that FK brings, SRAM brings, as far as product development and systems at the top end of the industry, top end of the cycling industry. How do you apply that to the bottom of the economic pyramid? How do you really serve those end users? And that simply had never been done before. And so having that connectivity of product development and start designing for the poor and giving a voice to that consumer was really core to our organizational ethos and how we drove. What happened, though, as we started delivering that bicycle into the healthcare program, I started getting a lot of knocks on my door. I wasn't living in Zambia at the time. I said, hey, I've seen your bicycle. I've seen it in the field. It lasts longer than that other bicycle. I want that bicycle. I'm an NGO. I'm a nonprofit. I'm implementing a program, and I want that bicycle for my healthcare program or for my agriculture program. Or I'm an individual farmer. How do I get that bicycle to use to transport my produce to the marketplace? Well, FK and I sort of looked at each other and said, well, we don't have the ability as a nonprofit to meet that market demand. But what we can do is start thinking about a market-based solution in order to scale up to meet that market demand. And so we worked with some very smart attorneys at DLA Piper and Deloitte to come up with a structure that is a pretty innovative structure. And actually, we talked to quite a few international groups about it. We have World Bicycle Relief, the not-for-profit, that owns 100% of Buffalo Bicycles Limited. Buffalo Bicycles Limited is a for-profit entity. It sells bicycles into the markets in which we operate. And so 100% of the sales, the proceeds, the net income of Buffalo Bicycles is owned by the not-for-profit. It's worked. It's actually been very successful. If you look at our organizational impact and some of the impact reports there, we're about ready to tip over 500,000 bicycles in the field. That's incredible. Half of those bicycles, 250,000 of those bicycles, have been funded through generous donors such as yourselves, Equator, corporations, partnerships, but largely individuals. The other half have been sold to organizations like UNICEF, like CARE International, World Vision, that are implementing high-impact programs and realize that a quality bicycle, a quality means of transportation at the bottom of the economic pyramid is really important. What we're seeing now, and as I talk about Buffalo Bicycle Shops, is individuals are seeing the value in that, and we've created actually a whole new product category in developing countries of quality bicycles. And so individuals now are purchasing our bicycles. And the Buffalo bicycle is probably twice, maybe more than twice, the cost of a bicycle-shaped object. But people at the bottom of the economic pyramid value it, so they're actually able to want to pay for it. And we have different microfinance programs, different systems for them to access that, but we're really excited to where that goes. So actually, we see that as a huge multiplier for our program, having the social enterprise and having that business aspect. And it creates transparency, economies of scale. The entire organization is aligned behind metrics and data. So for us, it's a way that we bring the best business practices into development.
What was the question?
The relationship between business and impact, which I know means a lot to
Amazing.
you as well, Helen.
Well, yeah, that's all I think about 24/7. I mean, I sit here in the middle here, sort of new to this organization and wanting to, we've been in this business for 24 years and sort of wanting to differentiate ourselves and have a just cause as a coffee roasting company. I mean, there are 450 coffee roasting companies on the West Coast now. There were 30 when we started. We have an enormous amount of competition. And the reason why we do well is, I believe, is because we are a B Corp. We are about stakeholder value versus shareholder value. We do have that chain of well-being that I call traveling to the farmer's gate, from the exporter to the importer, to the roaster, to the consumer, right to the cup. And we tell that story about how we can make an impact, whether it's doing a food security project in Tanzania and teaching people how to create mushrooms from compost of coffee cherries and have them at the dinner table and sell them at market. or microcredit loans for our farmers. So this is just one more vehicle for Equator to tell a story about. It's not what you do, it's why you do it. And what we do here is we're trying to build a sustainable company in a very competitive environment where the folks that work for us, and some of them are here in our organization right now, like Deborah's there, has been with us for 8 years. It's like layering that company with the next generation and having them stand on that platform that we have built, and understanding now that business is what we need to depend upon. Business is going to use that, be a force of good. We can't rely on our governments anymore. We can't rely on some of these other things. We have to rely on one another. We don't need to rely on ourselves as much as people talk about that. We're all in this together. And being a coffee company, you see that because we're not selling paper products, right? We're selling coffee. We're selling livelihoods. I have one thought 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. From the moment my foot hits the floor, is like, I have to sell more coffee. Because if I sell more coffee, I can do more things. That's all I think about. And if I can do more things, the people that work for me, the people that buy coffee from us, the people that are at the coffee lands, they'll have more opportunities. It's that simple, because we all get to make a choice about what we do. And so when I saw World Bicycle Relief, I think as we all do, when you can see a direct impact, when you can buy something and then you can see a bicycle and see a person on it, it's like right there in front of you, and you want to spend your dollars there. And I think that's what drew me to the organization. It's like that bike is real sitting over there, and it goes to Zambia, and it's been there. And there's so many things that you can walk down the coffee aisle and you can see fair trade organic, and I'll buy that, and you just hope that people on the other end are, getting the benefit of that. But World Bicycle Relief, I think because I love cycling so much, and I love the community so much, because it is a community, and cyclists drink coffee. It's like, how can we make an impact? I mean, this is just, for us and all of you being here, I want you all to buy Equator Coffee. Why? Because I want to give him more money. Why? Because I want to give Deborah continued health insurance. Why? Because I need to pay this rent. Why? I want to have a profit sharing. It's like, it's that simple. It's that simple. It's like, it's health insurance. It's a bike. It's food. It's like, it's what we do. And what I love looking out at all of you, you all feel that and believe that, right? Because you're here. And that bike is what we love, right? So I want to get more involved. I mean, I'm the CEO of Equator. Next year, I hope to get another CEO, because I'll be turning 60, and I want to be the chairwoman of yeah, can you? Good. I get that watch with my Strava. Got to get up. I got to get out, right? I got to get going, right? And so I want to be that person that's on the other end and spend more time in the coffee lands, right? Delivering this message that there's people here that care about them, that want to see everybody do well. Because we're on this earth for a short period of time. We all have something in common. We're all going to be dead, right? Every one of us. See you later, alligator, right? And, we want to be able to lay there and say, you know what? Thanks a lot, I love you. Thanks for helping me out here. But wow, I remember the face of that child, and that's all that I care about. And to see like 100 people show up from World Bicycle Relief encourages me and tells me something, that there's something special going on with the people that are in this room, that they want to make an impact. And I feel very honored to be between these folks and up here, and to be in the business that I'm in, and to have all of you, a lot of you are of our customers, because at the end of the day, that's all it's about. It's about being together. It's about human connection, kindness, and having a memorable experience. And this is memorable for me because you all showed up. So thank you for doing that.
Do you want to take a crack at that, or I can move on? Sounds good. Your personal stories are so powerful. For the aspiring change makers, and selfishly for myself, I'd love to ask, what has been most surprising to the three of you in trying to execute the impact that you've set for your organizations? Whether that's a positive surprise or a negative surprise, I think they're both valuable for us to hear and share. And Mark, may I ask you if something comes to mind?
Sure. Actually, it's a nice segue from the last question, because I think that in terms of this conflict between business and impact and so forth, feel really good at Strava in the sense that the world has changed from the time that I did my first company in the late 90s, early 2000s to today. There is not a recruiting discussion that I have with an incoming candidate where it's not about mission. It's just, if you're not mission driven as an organization, whether it's a nonprofit or a for-profit business, you're in trouble. And so for me, the big surprise is exactly that. Like, people want to understand what the mission is. They want to understand what the value system is at Strava. They want to be able to not just hear you talk about it, but be able to point to real data that shows that you've actually acted on that. That to me, in a short answer, that's probably been both the most interesting surprise, but also pleasant surprise. There's a hard part, which is always executing, limited resources and too many things to do, and lots of folks who want us going in a million different directions, but that's a good problem.
I think the biggest surprise was how hard this is. I mean, in our case, doing development, it's not easy. You're working in some pretty tough neighborhoods. And, this last year, we're dealing right now, we have the cyclone that hit Mozambique. That affects our supply chain. That's impacting programs that we're looking to do in Mozambique as well as in Zimbabwe. So that's a challenge. When I first landed in Africa over 12 years ago, it was an eye-opening experience for me. Africa probes for weakness, and I didn't know if I was going to make it. It was really a shocker because I came in as my type A investment banking personality, like, well, this is no problem. I'll solve poverty in the next 6 weeks. Simple, right? And I had my PowerPoint presentations, and I was all ready to go. Whoa, what a humbling experience. And talk about teaching patience and knowing, for me, I guess the biggest surprise also is that the need is so great, and how do we get to scale? And that's the biggest challenge because, I think a lot of the first part of our years in Africa were proof of concept, and so now how do we get to scale of concept? And that's the thing. So those are some of the surprises for me, how humbling the process is.
I'm always surprised. Am I surprised? What's been the most surprising? I think the most surprising for me is that there's so much kindness around us and in the world. And if you sit down for a minute and have a cup of coffee and chat with someone, everyone has a story. You just have to take the time to ask them about the story and ask them about who they are and what the connection is, and tell them what you're about, and just take that moment. So I'm surprised that we don't take more time to do that, including myself. I mean, if I could just stay in the stores all day long and don't have to do any CEOing and just carry babies around and put stickers on people and get people waffles and put blankets on them and make them happy, that's really all I want to do, because they don't get enough of that, right? And so the other surprise is that, yeah, it has to be a mission-driven company. To attract talent, we have some incredible people, and we have a mission, and it's a confusing world for people, so you have to be really clear, and things are changing, and it's extremely competitive, and you have to execute, and you still have to do your sales, service, cash flow, inventory, expenses, all the boring stuff. And about 4 p.m, you can talk about doing good. You'd like to get to it earlier, but you got to get everything else done first. So I think that's the surprise, is that you really have to work really, really hard to get to the good stuff. It doesn't come